Alright, so I'm at the park. It's been a pretty good day so far. I haven't got the studying I wanted to do done, but I will do that as soon as this video is done. So, I think the football season starts in like 20 days, 19 days to be exact for some teams, and maybe like 21 for others. But, yeah, I wanted to talk about how the season was going to go. I think, well, actually, I don't know anything. But what I do know is that I would love for my team, the Gators, to beat Miami. And honestly, they could like lose the rest of the season, and I'd still be happy that they beat Miami. I think I have lived through, well, been conscious of, knowingly conscious of, I think one Miami win because they lost the one in 2013, 14, 13. It was 13. And then they beat the one. They won the one in 2020 or 2019, I think it was. And so now they're actually having a home game for the first time in like 20 years, where Miami's coming there, and it's the first game of the season. I think they should bring back the entire home and home series rivalry, but seemingly I'm not in charge. If I was in charge, there would be so many different changes that you would not be able to keep up, but it would be so familiar for all the people who've been watching college football for the past 30 years of their life that they'd be like, oh my gosh, it's about time. Anyway, yes, I hope Florida beats Miami. I also hope that they beat UCF. I think, so last year, I didn't bet, but I had a genuine feeling that Colorado would start off 3-0, and they did. I have that same feeling about Florida this year. I think they're going to start off 3-0. For one of the biggest reasons being that they have home games, and then also it's just a weird little feeling I got. And I'm not a Colorado fan, so there was no homerism about it. It was just like I just had a feeling that they were going to go 3-0, and they did. And I have that same feeling for Florida this year. How the rest of the season is going to go, I'm not sure, but I hope it's more positive than how the rest of the season for Colorado went. Colorado, I think they're going to start 1-2 this year. I don't know anything about their team. What I do know is that North Dakota State University is not a team to sleep on, and I do know that Nebraska, having an actual head coach oh my God, I forgot his name, Matt Rule, is probably going to serve them well in a year of development. And I think their third game this year is going to be Colorado State. I think actually they could beat Colorado State. I know nothing about Colorado State either. But I can totally see them screwing it up. So you know what? I think I'll be a little bit more generous. My initial thing for Colorado is starting off 1-2, but my backup record is 2-1. I think they lose to Nebraska in both of those scenarios. Let's see. As you know, the Big Ten is now everywhere. It's not just in the Midwest. It's in the East, in the Pacific Northeast. It's pretty dumb, pretty wild, but, you know, as I said before, I'm not in control. I don't think UCLA is going to do very well. Let's see. I think that USC isn't going to do very well. I think Oregon has the best chance out of all those teams that have joined the Big Ten to actually do something pretty good. I'm interested to see how Wisconsin fares this year with the whole new head coach, second year new head coach in Luke Fickell. Let's see. I think last year they were 6-6. I think no, I don't. They weren't 6-6. I think they were like 7-5. And then they ended up being 7-6. That might even be wrong too. Either way, I think they're going to have a better year this year. I think they should have a better year this year, but I think the next year for them is going to be a lot better than this year and last year, because next year they're going to have an actual. Well, actually, it might even not even be that good, but still, because they have an actual quarterback next year. But this year, I think they still have a transfer quarterback again, because the last one that they had was also a transfer. I think this year's transfer is Van Dyke from Miami, so that'll be fun. I guess we should also go for Miami. I think Miami's going to be pretty okay. I think they have their transfer quarterback coming in, T.J. Ward, I think his name is, and he is essentially like a Kyler Murray type, kind of. I think he started off at Washington State. I don't know where he was before that, but I think he should do pretty well. I think that's something that Florida defense will actually have to get used to, and I think will serve them well. A more mobile, runny type quarterback versus the standard stand there and throw. Let's see. Hopefully they work on that in practice. I'm sure they will, but you know, things happen. God, what else? There's the new not Big 12. Big 12? Is it the Big 12? Yeah, there's a new Big 12. Texas and Oklahoma are no longer in it. So that serves as I don't know, like a more balanced Big 12? I have no idea. With Texas and Oklahoma being in the Southeastern Conference, that should be very exciting. I don't think Florida plays Oklahoma this year. I know they play Texas at Texas, so that should be a game that will be very exciting to see. But I also hate that they're in the SEC. I'm not going to, like, shit on it, but I'm also just not going to be like, oh my god, wait, they should always be in the SEC. I have a personal feeling about them being in the Southeastern Conference, and the personal feeling is why. I think it's too convoluted now, the conference being. I think essentially this just kind of makes the SEC the biggest winner of the playoff system, because I think the playoff system is 12 this year, and so I don't see how, if there's a bias of the Southeastern Conference, I don't see how that bias is going to either be diminished or in any way diminished if Texas and Oklahoma are now playing tougher schedules, because the whole argument is that the team has to play a tough schedule in order to be admitted into the playoff or seen as worthy. Of course, they also have to win. It's not just a tough schedule, but tough schedule and winning kind of go hand in hand. And so I love the Southeastern Conference, but I love it in the way where it's only a certain amount of teams, not all the big teams. I enjoy the Big Ten just in how it's all the Big Ten teams and not every other. I don't know. It's really dumb. Not a huge fan. Hopefully it doesn't stay like this for long, but I have a feeling that because of how money works, and the Big Ten, I think, getting like a $2 billion deal from CBS to stream their games, like, I don't see this not ever ending anytime soon. If it does end anytime soon, I do have a video on what the conferences should look like, which I will probably put up here or not at all. Yeah. So, let's see, what other teams should I cover and talk about? I don't know much about any other teams. I kind of watch the two big conferences because those are the ones that you see. Let's see, I guess we can cover the Ivy League, so they go to the Ivy League, and I would say that I don't know what the outlook is at all. Last year, Penn was like, okay, they beat Harvard, then they lost it. They beat Yale, then they lost to Harvard. They lost their last game of the year on my birthday to Princeton here at home, which was ridiculous. And then they lost their first game of the year in the Ivy League era play, basically off a fumble, because it was actually a come from behind overtime loss. They were losing pretty much the entire game. I think at halftime it was like 21-10 or some shit. And then eventually they caught up. They went to overtime. They got the ball first. They fumbled the ball. And then Dartmouth got the ball, kicked the field goal, and they won. So that was disappointing to see in real time. But from that game, I actually got to go in the field, because since in the Ivy League it's not that big of a football generally in whole Ivy League ideas, sports in general in the Ivy League aren't really that big of a deal unless it's like, not badminton. What's the one where you throw with the net? Oh god. I keep wanting to call it badminton. I'll think of it eventually. But It's not, sports aren't that big of a deal in this era of the university, because it's D1 Division 2, D1 Division B, A, I don't know. Anywho, I got to go in the field because they do little games on the field, and I participated in one of the games. So that was the highlight of the Dartmouth game. So it's an interesting time. We'll see what happens for this year. I can't wait to go to the Harvard game. Oh no, the Yale game. No, I think they were away for Yale and Harvard this year. They were. So I can't wait to go to both of them this year to see how they do and what happens. Yeah, let's see. All right. Let's see. What team is going to win the national title? Well, let's talk about Georgia. Georgia is in a reloading year. Reloading from last year. All their players this summer seem to have a problem with driving, as they all speed and crash and get into trouble. I think last year or 2 years ago, one of their players and like 2 staffers died in a car accident, in which I think one was intoxicated and they were driving and I don't know. So people are talking about how Kirby Smart needs to get that under control. I doubt it will ever really get under control, but we'll see. Especially if they win another title. I don't really see it being under control, but I also feel as though that I had a thought about Georgia and I completely forgot. I don't know. I think Georgia's going to be in the playoff. I don't know if they're going to win. I think Ohio State's actually going to win the entire thing. I'm not an Ohio State fan, but I think that they have rebuilt so much, and they've gotten so many transfers, and they've lost to Michigan for the past 3 years, is it? And it's just like, it culminates in Brian Day. It's just like this college football, you get this feeling when you watch it, and like sometimes when seasons end, you get the feeling about the next season. It's like, oh no, this is definitely going to happen. So I think Ohio State beats Michigan at home for the first time in 3 years. And I think that when they do it, it cements them into the college football playoff, and I think they win the whole thing. Who do they play? You know, I'm going to have to go Georgia. I think they play Georgia, and I think they lose to Georgia. I think they beat Georgia. I think there's this idea that Ohio State can't play the big game or win the big game or whatever because they lost in 2020 when they played Alabama like 52-20. Yeah, I don't know. I think Clemson's going to have a comeback year. I think their year is going to be pretty good. I know that they played Georgia this year. I really couldn't call that game even if you paid me thousands of dollars to do it. Because I know nothing about Clemson. I know that Cade Klubnik needs to probably figure his shit out, and he probably did this summer. But Clemson's been rather quiet from what I've heard and seen, and I think that quietness will culminate into a win. It really sucks that they play Georgia Clemson not at the home games. They play it in these stupid third-party stadiums. It's just like, just play it at home, bro. Like, what are you doing? Fuck it. I'm going to call Clemson to win that game. And I think that's going to culminate in their season being better than what people thought it would be. I think they will start off being undefeated, and then they're going to lose to somebody, and it's going to be like, oh my God, they lost. But then they're still going to be in the conversation playoff. I think they're going to go to the playoff, not win the playoff, obviously. But in fact, I think they're going to have a rematch against Ohio State in the playoff. And I think that will be Dabo Swinney will come out and say something vaguely stupid or vaguely smart, I don't know, and say, oh, we did this, and something about Jesus and all this other shit. Dabo Swinney is essentially Tim Tebow, but a coach. Alright, God, what other teams sucked last year that not going to suck this year? Alabama? Oh yeah, I guess we should talk about them. They have a whole new coach, because the last one decided to say, fuck off, I'm out. And so now they have this guy from Washington, who is the Washington coach, Kalen DeBoer, and their team is maybe loaded. I don't know. I don't keep track of that shit. But I do know that they are probably going to have a better season than people thought they were. I think Auburn beats them in the Iron Bowl. And I think people are going to want Kalen DeBoer fired just for that reason. But obviously that would be stupid. I think that Kalen DeBoer's Alabama team isn't going to be as bad as people think they're going to be. I think that they win 10 games. And I think that's their ceiling, and their floor is like 7. And I do not see I don't see a 7-game season winning thing for them. Auburn, I guess we can talk about them. I know nothing about Auburn either. I just know Hugh Freeze, who used to buy prostitutes for Ole Miss, is their coach now, and that should be a funny little season that he's going to have this year. I don't know, like 8-4, 8-5, I don't fucking know. God, who else? Who else are we going to talk about today? Oh, jeez. Oh, I guess we're talking about Washington. Washington essentially goes back, when in high school, when you have a high school football team, and all the seniors make it to the national high school game, and like they win or lose or whatever. And the next year, that same team comes back, but it's the seniors are gone, so it's the juniors who sucked all the blood of the seniors, and they all get to have the strength and mental stability. I don't think it's going to happen for them this year. I think that Washington ends up kind of, especially with all the talent they lost and a whole new head coach, it's really sad, honestly. I think it's really sad when that happens to a team. Because Washington was just kind of building momentum. They literally just played the national title game. It would have been so cool if they were able to keep everything together, but people transferred out, the coach left. I don't know, maybe they don't have a good NIL system, I have no idea, but yeah. Penn State and West Virginia plays this year in Morgantown. I hope that West Virginia wins. I know nothing about Penn State, and I really don't care for Penn State. But I do know that West Virginia and Penn State was a fun game last year, and hopefully it's a fun game this year. I hope it's a fun game so much, in fact, that Morgantown ends up being a great party for everybody. But if I had to actually call the game, I think Penn State's going to win that game. It's really sad. Let's see. God, what else? Who else is there in the world of college football? Who's going to get fired this year? Who's going to get fired this year? Well, people would say Billy Napier if he doesn't win all his games, but I don't understand how that can... I don't know. I think he only gets fired if he loses to all 3 rivals. If he loses to UCF and Miami, I think he's definitely more definitely going to be fired. Because you can't lose to those in-state rival teams and then still try to recruit people from in-state. Because the entire point of hiring Billy Napier was getting in-state recruits and just recruiting in general, because the last guy didn't give a fuck. So this new guy has to give a fuck. So we'll see. But he's gonna get fired? I don't even know, man. I don't even know who's on the hot. Oh, James Franklin, maybe? I don't know. If he doesn't, I don't know. Some people say that there's no point in firing him because you're not gonna get anyone better. And I would kind of agree, because I don't even know who you would hire in place of him, because James Franklin has been doing so good, kind of. I don't know. Maybe him. Let's talk about Vanderbilt. No one ever talks about Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt never does anything. But this year, Vanderbilt has, I think it's his 2nd year or his 3rd year, a former player as their head coach, Clark Law, I don't know. I hope Vanderbilt does well. I hope that they do so much better that they've been so much more better than they have been. I don't know. I hope that they do well. I find it impressive that, I think everybody who watches college football finds it impressive that James Franklin was able to get Vanderbilt to 9-win seasons back in 2 back-to-back years. Granted, I think one of those years Florida went 4-8, and the other one of those years Georgia was also really bad. So I don't know. If those teams weren't bad, they would have been 8, 7, 6 and whatever. But that's still good for them, But still, 8 wins is impressive. Good on that whole group of team people, except those players who were kicked off the team for rape. Oh, they're running. Oh, there they go. Sorry, the women's soccer team is currently conditioning, and it's really fun to watch. Oh, shit. Okay. Anyway. God, what else? I really hope Vanderbilt does well. That was the point of Matt's sentence. God, LSU apparently didn't have a defense last year. Hopefully they have a defense this year. I don't know. Wisconsin definitely should have beat them last year in the fucking Gasparilla Bowl or whatever the fuck it was. That was a failure on the defensive coordinator completely, and maybe the offensive coordinator for not keeping the gas on, because they literally were torching those DBs. Like, this is the first time ever in the history of Wisconsin football in which they had an offense that used wide receivers in a decent way. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, LSU probably do good this year. God, what else? I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. The biggest storylines this year will be Colorado, will be Florida, and will be Kalen DeBoer, and God, who else? Who else is gonna be a big? Maybe Vanderbilt. I don't know. I think I might cover some Vanderbilt stuff this year. Even not as a Vanderbilt fan, I think it'll be interesting to see. And that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got for the college football coverage before the season starts. As I said before, I think Ohio State wins the whole thing. Oh, let's talk about Notre Dame really quick. Notre Dame apparently got 3 recruits, 3 former NFL player recruit children. So I think James Harrison's kid is one of them. I don't know the other ones. I don't know if they play this year or next year, but I think Notre Dame will be, oh, she's fast, will be a sleeper contender. I think they'll go to the playoff just because it's Notre Dame, and just because I don't know what their schedule is. I think it's actually rather easy this year. You know what? Let's look it up real quick. Is Notre Dame's schedule easy this year, or is it really, really difficult? Notre Dame football schedule 2024. Also, I think everybody knows this, but I think if Notre Dame were to join a conference, they should join the Big Ten, because they're already in Big Ten area. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Notre Dame plays Texas A&M this year. If I were to call that game, I think Notre Dame wins, because Texas A&M also has a new coach. That's right. I don't know if they lost a lot of their talent through the transfer portal, but because I know that they essentially, according to everybody, they bought their talent from like 2 years ago. So we'll see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 6 easy wins on their schedule. The hardest ones would be USC, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Stanford, Louisville, and Notre Dame. And you're probably wondering, why would Stanford be a hard game? Because I think Stanford also just got a really big recruit in their quarterback play. I don't know if he plays this year or next year, but I think it's like one of the biggest signings that they've had in a very, very, very long time. Since at least, what's his name? Oh God, David Shaw, Connor Shaw, David Shaw, I think that's his name. Since the David Shaw era, and having Christian McCaffrey as their running back. So yeah, I hope Stanford does well too. I think they deserve it. Georgia Tech, that's the last team I'm going to talk about. Yes, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, their spring game, I was very impressed by. I was like, oh my God, they have receivers who can catch and run. This is insane. So I wouldn't be surprised if Georgia Tech is a sleeper in the ACC and winning the ACC this year. I think they would be behind Clemson. God, who else is in the ACC? FSU? Maybe FSU. I don't know if they still have Jordan Travis or... Oh, no, it's DJ Uiagalelei. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. DJ, the guy from Oregon State, and then previously from Clemson. So, yeah, I think I would personally, from what I saw. From what I saw in the spring game, Georgia Tech is going to be that team that is going to surprise everybody. Hopefully Miami doesn't lose to them again if they even play them this year. I don't know. But if they do, it'd be kind of funny. If they don't, great. And I would be rooting for Georgia Tech in that game anyway. All right, now that's it. That's all I got. We'll see how good I am at predicting this stuff. If I have more time next year, I might actually sit down and do a breakdown of I might pick 10 teams, and I'll be like, I'm going to predict the future of these 10 teams this year. I might do that. I might not. I don't know. But, yeah. No, that's it. All right. I'm going to go actually try to study. Actually, I might have to just read instead, because I got to get this book done. I gotta get this book done. All right. Anyway, that's it. Bye.